We all believe, and management practitioners and scholars are of the opinion that employees are the most important assets of the organization. But why is it so? The reason why this is so is the quality and effectiveness of the organization is basically determined by, guided by the people who are working in that organization. Therefore, the success of any organization depends upon getting the right person to work for the organization, the person with the right amount of skills, the right quality of performance, and in order to successfully motivate them to do the work that is required by them in order to achieve the company's goals. So we find that it is rightly said that employees are the most important asset of an organization. This brings us to the discussion on the subject for today, which is personnel management as the traditional school of thought believes it to be. If we go by the definition of the British Institute of Personnel Management, it is defined as that part of management which is concerned with people at work and with their relationship within an organization. This is the conventional thought which is presently extended to be called the human resource management. According to the American Management Association, human resource management is that field of management which has to do with planning, organizing, controlling various operative functions of procuring, developing, maintaining, and utilizing the workforce of an organization. The objective of doing this is that the company, once established, has to be maintained efficiently and economically. The objectives of all the people who are in the organization has to be matched with the objectives of the company. And finally, the objectives of the society in which the company operates is to be matched with the people and the objectives of the organization. To this, we go over to a more simplistic definition of human resource management. According to Ivancivic and Kluek, we know that human resource is a function performed in the organization that facilitates the most effective use of people to achieve organizational and individual goals. To understand this definition, we say that human resource is the function performed by the whole organization. And why is it done? In order to make sure that people who are working in the organization achieve their individual as well as organizational goals. To summarize this in the form of a diagram, we may think about people within an organization and their personal objectives in their lives, in their workplace, the organizational objectives in terms of profits, in terms of growth, in terms of diversification, and finally societal objectives in terms of responsibility towards all stakeholders and towards the environment. So we find that human resource management is actually a culmination of different objectives of individuals, of the organization, and that of society. But why is human resource management important in today's society? It is important because in every organization, we find that human resource leads to the best services that an organization can do. Human resource management leads to quality customer service. In the modern day business, effective knowledge management is the key to competitive advantage and growing profits. And such knowledge comes from people. Therefore, it is very important that the people in an organization are well managed, are taken care of, their objectives are met with the organizational objectives which finally suit the societal objectives. Therefore, we find that human resource management is not only very important from the perspective of employees, but it is also important for the perspective of the company and the perspective of society. This takes us to a broader understanding of human resource management, which says that human resource management is a multidisciplinary subject. It combines the studies of economics, of psychology, sociology, and law. It is basically embedded within the work of all managers within an organization, and it is important that most individual contributors, due to the needs of managing people, are maintained and that their work in teams get done. Therefore, human resource management is a unique subject, and this uniqueness is important for the benefit of the individual, the organization, and the society. This brings us to an understanding about what human resource management is, but we also need to know about how human resource management is different from personnel management. Human resource management, as we understood, is the more contemporary version of personnel management. But besides being the more contemporary version of a traditional subject, there are many aspects, there are many dimensions that differentiate personnel management from human resource management. We shall try to bring about the difference between personnel management and human resource management as per the different dimensions. First, we look at the perspectives of human resource management and personnel management. Under personal management, we look at short-term within the organization focus. It looks at the employees, how they are working, how they are performing, how they can be compensated, how they can be trained, how can they be replaced, what happens when they leave, so on and so forth. But in human resource management, we look at a more long-term perspective. It looks at the organization, what it is today, the people it has today, where it will be 5 years from now, who are the people who will be required 5 years from now. And that is the long-term perspective of human resource management. Now, what is the basic difference as far as the point of view is concerned? Personnel management talks about compliance. So there are rules that the personnel manager has to comply. On the other hand, human resource management talks about the psychological contract behind the commitment. Compliance talks about a commitment, but human resource management talks about the psychology behind the commitment. So human resource management is basically the human face of personnel management. As we go over to the control function, we find that personnel management talks about external control, like there's someone outside who is telling the employees what to do, someone superior who's telling the employees what to do. On the other hand, human resource management talks about self-control. I know what to do and I will do that for my own objective and for the organizational objective. Therefore, the control factor is different in personnel management and in human resource management. Then we go over to the perception of personnel management and human resource management. The perception from the personnel management style is a pluralistic perspective, but from the human resource management perspective is more utilitarian. What we mean by perception of personnel management, that is, it satisfies everybody, tries to satisfy everybody. But from the human resource management perspective, it tries to satisfy the utility of everybody. Why does everyone exist? Why does the organization exist? And that is what the human resource management perception is about. There is therefore a personnel manager and a human resource manager. What roles do they play? The personnel manager plays the role, a specialist role, plays the role of what he is supposed to do, what he has been told by his contract. But the human resource manager looks forward, looks at the strategy of the organization, and therefore he plays more of a strategy role. Next, we go over to the outlook. The personnel manager objective is cost minimization, and the human resource manager's objective is maximum utilization of the resources that are available through the employees to the organization. So the basic difference between the personnel manager and the human resource manager is in the outlook in terms of cost minimization vis-a-vis maximum utilization of the available resources. This is not the end. We go over further in discussing about the differences in the different dimensions between personnel management and human resource management. As we go further, we find that in terms of employment contract, the personnel manager gives a careful written down contract to the employees, whereas the human resource manager does not restrict his activities to the contract. The human resource manager looks at beyond the contract, thinks about the work that is being done by the employees, how they could be more engaged with the objectives of the organization. As we proceed, we find that the rules followed in personnel management give importance to very clear, decisive rules, whereas in the human resource management perspective, rules are not necessarily so rigid. It depends on what can be done. What needs to be done is the focus of human resource management. In case of the management action, personnel management is guided by the procedures, whereas human resource management is guided by the need of the business. As has been very clearly said in the previous points, the contract and the rules, personnel management goes by the rule book, human resource management goes by the need of the organization and hence the need of the society. That determines the behavior of the organization, of the people in the organization. The personnel manager follows the norms and the customs and the practices of the organization, whereas the human resource manager looks broadly, looks ahead, and thinks about the vision and the mission of the organization. In terms of personnel management, the manager thinks about monitoring the employees. And in terms of human resource management, the manager thinks about nurturing the employees. How does monitoring take place? Monitoring takes place through initiatives which are piecemeal. And how does nurturing take place? Nurturing takes place through initiatives which are integrated. As a result of which we understand that human resource management looks at people in the organization, looks at their objectives and matches them with the organizational objectives, and looks further beyond as to how the employees can be matched with the organizational objectives and how the organization can be taken forward, keeping in mind the needs of the society to which the organization belongs. After this, we go over to the discussion on the first subtopic under human resource management, which is called human resource planning. Human resource planning of an organization basically depends upon the number of people who are in the organization and who will be needed in the organization. It's basically a matching of the demand and supply of the employees of the organization. The number of people who are in the organization are considered to be its present inventory. Number of people required for the organization is considered to be the demand of the human resource. To focus on what the aim of human resource planning is, we understand that the aim is to attract and retain the employees with the required skills, expertise, and competencies. But how is it done? How do the managers do this? They anticipate the problems of the surpluses or deficits. How does surplus and deficit arise? When the existing manpower supply in an organization is more than the demand, there is a supply of human resources. On the other hand, when the existing supply of manpower is less than the demand, there is a shortage of human resources. Anticipating this is the job of the human resource manager. How will we go ahead in executing the human resource plan? The objective of which is to develop a well-trained and flexible workforce and thus contributing to the organization's ability to adapt to the changing environment. As a result of which, the human resource manager will be able to depend less on the external recruitment when key skills are in short supply. As a result, the flexible workforce within the organization will bring about more advancement of the organization. Ultimately, the job is to improve the utilization of people by introducing more flexible work systems. As we proceed, we find that the human resource planning concerns itself with three primarily different activities. One is preparing the job analysis. Two is preparing the HR inventory, which is done through the HRIS. The HRIS, as is well known, is the Human Resource Information System, with the help of which a fairly accurate picture of the existing situation is generated. If we go ahead with the forecasting and action plans of human resource management, we find, if I may repeat, the job of the human resource manager is to compare the future needs with current availability and to analyze the company's future plan of action. Does it want to diversify? Does it want to rationalize? Does it want to expand its own existing field of business? The way in which the forecasting of manpower is done could be subjective as well as objective. If the current inventory exceeds future requirements, we may think about natural attrition, but natural attrition cannot bring down resources to match the excess supply. Therefore, it is important for our human resource manager to forecast the demand and the supply. Now, how is the human resource management action plan designed? It is designed by managing future demand to match future supply. It is actually equating between the demand of the employees with the supply of the employees.